I never missed the sound of your cries muffled beneath your pillow, or the heaviness in your chest when you had no words left to pray. You thought no one noticed, but I was sitting right beside you while your heart broke in silence. Every time you felt like you were being forgotten, I was holding each shattered piece of your hope together with my presence. You didn't have to speak aloud, I understood your unspoken ache. While others saw strength in your eyes, I saw the war you were fighting within. You stayed faithful even when answers didn't come, and you kept walking even when your soul was weary. I is not gonna noticed in heaven. You need to know this. I have been preparing a response that's not just timely, but tailored exactly for the depth of your need. You weren't ignored. You weren't overlooked. I was watching your trust grow roots in dark soil, knowing that soon, something beautiful would bloom. The tears that fell in secret watered the very breakthrough that is now on its way to your doorstep. I didn't rush because I wanted it to arrive right on time, not a moment early to spoil your strength, not a moment late to deepen your pain. I watched as you kept believing when nothing made sense. That kind of endurance touches my heart. That kind of loyalty opens doors no man can shut. You were never praying into a void, you were heard from the first whisper. But I had to complete something in you before I completed something for you. And now, I come to you with the very thing you asked for. It may not look exactly like you pictured it, but it will fit the shape of your soul. You waited long, but it will be worth every single second. This answer carries my fingerprints, my timing, my perfect will. I crafted it in love and delivered it with power. Your season of silence is breaking. Your lonely prayers are echoing with fulfillment. What was once delayed hath been released. You are about to witness what happens when faith collides with my divine appointment. It won't just feel like an answer, it will feel like healing, like clarity, like a kiss from heaven on the wounds no one saw. It's coming in a way that not only addresses your request but restores the parts of you that felt forgotten in the waiting. Because I never just give answers, I give myself. I am the answer wrapped in presence, truth, and peace. The breakthrough is only the beginning. I'm not only changing your situation, I'm revealing how close I've always been. You are about to see that the delays were not denials, they were designs. You were not abandoned, you were being aligned. And now that the moment has arrived, don't be afraid to open your heart to what's about to unfold. This is your moment to receive. This is your season to rejoice. I'm stepping into your story not just to respond, but to remain. What I'm bringing is more than a solution. It's an encounter with my love that changes everything from the inside out. Get ready to breathe deeper. Get ready to smile again. Get ready to walk forward with new strength, because the very thing you feared wouldn't come is already at your door. Knock, and it will open. Ask, and you will see what I've been preparing in the quiet. Your answer has not just arrived, it's been waiting for you to be ready to receive it. And now you are. Let me in. There were moments you whispered, "Where are you?" into the dark, thinking I had turned my face away. But even when the heavens seemed quiet, I was not absent, I was active. You see only the surface of situations, but I see every layer beneath it. I wasn't ignoring your pain, I was intercepting arrows that were never allowed to touch you. I wasn't sitting idly while you suffered, I was building bridges in the distance, connecting you to outcomes you never saw coming. Just because your natural eyes couldn't trace me didn't mean I wasn't surrounding you from every direction. I was sowing answers into the very path you thought was blocked. Behind the locked doors of human limitation, I placed my hand and turned the unseen keys. You couldn't see the seeds I was planting under the soil of delay, but I knew exactly when to make them rise. While you were focused on the visible, I was commanding the invisible to rearrange itself in your favor. People may have walked away, thinking nothing was happening for you, but I stayed close to the unseen details, threading together moments, lining opportunities, shifting hearts, and orchestrating meetings that would one day carry your name on their breath. The stillness you experienced wasn't empty. It was sacred. It was a holy hush before the unveiling. Even in the quiet, my voice was echoing through eternity on your behalf. I wasn't being silent, I was speaking into places that would shape your destiny. I whispered into boardrooms, I stirred hearts in positions of power, and I touched lives you'll encounter at just the right time. While you questioned the standstill, I was arranging a ripple of events that would come crashing into your life as unexpected favor. I placed your name in the mouths of strangers, in the hands of those with influence, and in the dreams of people who carry the next step in your journey. You didn't know it, but doors were creaking open long before you arrived to knock. You thought nothing moved, but I was already pacing ahead of you, securing, preparing, protecting. There were dangers you never saw, delays you never had to face, and disasters that were diverted not because you were lucky, but because I intervened quietly. I don't always shout my movements. Sometimes I work in silence to protect what's sacred. I cover your path in mystery not to confuse you, but to preserve what's holy until it's time to reveal. My wisdom operates where logic fails. You prayed for clarity, and I answered with unseen alignment. You asked for direction, and I ordered your steps without needing to explain every turn. You were never wandering. You were being guided through the invisible currents of my perfect will. What you thought was silence was actually the deep hum of heaven working. I was holding together everything you didn't know was fragile. I was rerouting circumstances that would have broken you had they gone through. I allowed a pause not to punish you, but to protect the promise. Some answers require a construction zone of miracles, and I had to clear a path where none existed. So no, I was not absent. I was fully involved. Not 1 second passed without my hand shaping the outcome. Now that the time has come for the visible to meet the invisible, you'll understand why the silence was necessary. I hid my workings not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much to let it be tampered with. And now, I lift the curtain. The quiet season has served its purpose. You're stepping into the evidence of what was built in secret. This next chapter will prove that I was never still. I was simply working where you couldn't see, moving mountains you didn't know existed, and preparing a stage for you that only heaven could build. The space between your asking and my delivering was never wasted. It was sacred preparation. In the stillness, I was planting something deeper than you knew. While you wondered if I had forgotten your prayer, I was using time to carve out capacity within you. I wasn't simply delaying, I was cultivating. I allowed the soil of your soul to be softened, tilled, and made ready for the kind of blessing that wouldn't just visit but stay. You see, what I'm bringing into your life needed sturdy ground to rest upon. If I had given it too soon, it would have collapsed under the weight of immaturity or misunderstanding. But in the waiting, I built endurance into your spirit and depth into your discernment. What felt like a pause was actually a process, a divine shaping of your character so that when the answer arrived, you'd not only recognize it, but you'd know how to carry it well. I wasn't punishing you by asking you to wait. I was preserving what would one day be yours. In the quiet seasons, I taught you how to hear my whisper, how to trust me when everything around you shouted doubt, how to lean not on what you saw, but on who I am. This kind of foundation can't be formed overnight. It takes surrender, patience, and persistence. You chose to keep believing when it would have been easier to walk away. That decision, repeated in moments no one else saw, is the very thing that unlocked what I'm about to unveil. The roots of your obedience have run deep, and now, like a tree in full bloom, you're about to witness fruit that couldn't have grown any other way. I didn't rush it because I wanted it to last. I wasn't interested in a quick fix. I was committed to long-term transformation. That's why the answer you're receiving isn't temporary comfort. It's a shift that will ripple across your future. It's a turning point, not a brief relief. You endured what many would have avoided. You held on when the nights felt longer than your strength could carry. You let go of what I asked you to, even when it broke your heart. Those were the moments that tilled the ground. Those were the choices that made room for what's coming next. What I'm about to do won't just fill the empty places, it will overflow into areas you didn't even know needed healing. The waiting season didn't take anything from you. It prepared you to receive more than you imagined. Because now, your heart is postured to see me, not just the gift. And when your eyes are on me, everything else aligns around that focus. You've been wondering why it took so long. and soon you'll realize that my timing wasn't slow, it was precise. The people, the place, the preventive piece had to be prepared. I am not a God of confusion. I am a God of order. And every delay was connected to a divine setup you couldn't have orchestrated on your own. You will look back and understand that if anything had happened sooner, it would have cost you something precious. But now, because of the patience you allowed to grow in you, you're about to walk into something steady, lasting, and undeniably authored by me. There is peace coming with this answer, peace that confirms its source. You won't have to force it or fear losing it. You'll know it's me because it will rest in your spirit like a key sliding into the lock it was always meant for. I don't just prepare blessings for my children, I prepare my children for their blessings. And now, that preparation has reached its completion. You've been faithful with little. Now watch what I do with much. You waited well, and because of that, you're ready to carry what's been waiting for you. The unfolding has begun. From the beginning, your identity has been marked in a place that can never be erased, engraved in the very hands that were pierced for you. You may have felt overlooked by people, passed by in opportunities, and dismissed in moments where your heart yearned to be seen. But in heaven, your name has never lost its place. I etched it into eternity, not with ink, not with fading memory, but with a love that cannot be undone. While the world labeled you as someone to ignore, I called you by name, not once, not occasionally, but constantly. I have carried you in the core of my being, not as a fleeting thought but as a beloved priority. You were not waiting in a forgotten corner, you were held in the center of divine attention. Even when nothing seemed to move, your name was being whispered in heavenly places. I did not turn away from you. I leaned closer. While others moved on, I remained unmoved in my affection for you. Every sigh you breathed in disappointment, I caught it. Every hope you tucked away so no one could see, I treasured it. You have never been hidden from my gaze. You have always been in my reach. There has not been a single moment where I asked, "Who are you?" I have always known. I created every detail of you, your thoughts, your fears, your desires, your longings. And in the time you thought I was distant, I was holding you tighter than ever before. When days blurred together and hope began to fade, I was still present, preserving the promise, protecting your spirit, and recording every act of quiet faith that others may have missed. You are not a background character in your own story. You are seen, valued, known. And not in a general way, but personally, intentionally, and continually. The silence you felt was not evidence of my forgetfulness, it was space I allowed so you could witness what it truly means to be remembered. You see, being remembered by me means that nothing about your life is random. It means I've mapped every chapter with purpose. Even the pauses. Even the parts that didn't make sense. Your name was never lost among the billions I have spoken it with compassion in moments you didn't even realize. When others ignored your presence, I was working behind veils to honor your trust. You may have been skipped in lines, but you were first in my plans. You may have felt delayed in arrival, but I already had your place prepared. When you questioned if I still knew what you were carrying, I was already orchestrating how to deliver what you could not yet handle. And now, the moment is arriving where you will finally see what it looks like to be remembered by the King of Glory. Your name is not only remembered, it is being revealed. The heavens have not forgotten you, and the earth is about to echo what I've spoken in secret. The next step you take will not be as someone uncertain of your worth, but as someone who knows they were always cherished even when it felt quiet. I did not leave you behind. I slowed everything around you so I could walk beside you. And now, what I've reserved with your name on it is about to enter your life. This is not the result of chance. It is the result of covenant. I made a promise to never leave you, and I never have. I promised to remember you, and I always will. And when you see what I am about to unfold, you'll no longer question if you were known. You'll know beyond a doubt that you have always been held, seen, and etched into the very hands that form the universe. I did not forget you. I never will. I know the quiet moments made you wonder if I stepped away, but what you couldn't hear was actually part of a larger plan. The lack of noise wasn't me withdrawing, it was me shielding. There were things I was guarding that had your name on them, things too delicate to be exposed before they were ready, things too sacred to be placed where they'd be trampled by those who wouldn't understand their value. I allowed the silence not to hurt you, but to keep certain forces from accessing what was intended for your future. You didn't realize it at the time, but there were battles surrounding what belonged to you, and I covered it in stillness so that it would not be stolen, stained, or sabotaged. The quiet season was not a void, it was a veil of divine wisdom to prevent interference. While others rushed forward without my counsel, I was teaching you the power of stillness, of trusting when nothing seemed to shift, of walking steadily when the road was invisible, of holding your peace while I fought for your portion. The delay you felt was my defense surrounding your inheritance. There are some blessings that require secrecy until the moment of release, and I placed a covering over yours so the timing would be perfect and the environment would be safe. If I had allowed it to come sooner, it would have arrived in chaos or landed in the hands of those who would not steward it properly. But because I love you, I reserved it not to withhold joy but to preserve it. What I'm bringing into your life carries weight, destiny, and purpose. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be handled casually. And so I wrapped it in strategy, cloaked it in patience, and planted it beneath the soil of stillness. You thought the silence meant I was far, but I was never closer. I was hovering over the very things that belonged to you, ensuring no harm could reach them. I was rerouting delays meant to derail you, removing counterfeit doors dressed as opportunity, and protecting your heart from voices that didn't carry my spirit. This was never about punishment, it was about positioning. I was organizing a release that would come without compromise. Your name has been attached to a portion that's too significant to be rushed through human timing. I needed you to grow strong in the quiet so that when I opened the gate, you'd step into it with clarity and courage. And now, the time has come where the silence is breaking, not because I just started working, but because what I protected is now mature enough to reveal. You'll notice how things begin to align effortlessly, not because they're easy, but because they've been secured in wisdom. The conversations, the opportunities, the resources, they are not random. They're the results of a design that I've been crafting for longer than you knew. This was not stalling. This was sacred timing. There were hearts that needed softening, systems that needed shifting, roads that needed paving. I've now completed the groundwork. The covering that shielded your promise is lifting, and the unveiling will be unlike anything you've anticipated. When it begins, you won't need to force your way in. Doors will open in response to my authority, not human influence. What is yours will come to you not with noise, but with divine clarity. And when it comes, you will realize that everything I kept hidden was not buried, it was being preserved. Because what is appointed for you must be kept away from hands not assigned to it. I have done exactly that. And now, as the silence gives way to fulfillment, walk forward with the confidence that what's arriving is untouched by corruption, untainted by delay, and unmistakably mine. You weren't being ignored. You were being insulated. The moment your voice rose in desperation, heaven responded not with noise, but with movement. I didn't need an audience to begin the shift. I just needed your heart to reach me in sincerity. And it did. When you felt surrounded by walls too thick to climb and cycles too long to break, I listened not as a distant observer, but as a father prepared to intervene. Your prayer wasn't a faint whisper lost in the wind, it was a declaration of trust that pierced through the confusion and reached the very courts of my throne. And while it seemed like nothing shifted on the surface, I was already assigning changes at the foundation. I began repositioning people who didn't belong in your future. I started closing access to influences that had been quietly draining your strength. I redirected circumstances that seemed unrelated, but were directly connected to your next chapter. The ripple effect of that prayer began immediately, but I orchestrated it in such a way that you wouldn't see the full picture until the time was right. What you thought was stillness was actually divine choreography. I adjusted seasons, redirected outcomes, delayed meetings, accelerated encounters, all to align the answer with the moment your heart would be ready to carry it. Every coincidence you're about to experience was carefully written into motion the second you surrendered that request. Your plea didn't bounce back, it set my authority into motion. I was never idle in response to your need. I was active in the unseen, operating in a dimension your natural eyes couldn't comprehend. I moved hearts. I stirred courage in those assigned to help you. I redirected opposition so it wouldn't interfere with what was sacred. I realigned timing. I shifted burdens. I lifted weights that you didn't even know were crushing you. And I did it all because you trusted me enough to ask. You didn't demand answers, you placed your situation in my hands and chose faith over frustration. That moment mattered more than you'll ever realize. I heard the part of your cry that words couldn't form, the ache buried beneath the questions, the exhaustion behind the strength you kept showing others, the longing that lingered after every setback. I heard it all, and I responded in power, not just to change what surrounded you, but to transform what was forming within you. I didn't just want to remove the struggle, I wanted to ensure it never returned. So I reached deep into the foundation of what caused the cycles, and I've been rebuilding you from the inside out. What's coming is not a surface-level change, it's a total shift. A transformation that will not only bring you peace, but protect your purpose. Every layer of this response has been touched by my hands. You won't find a single corner of it that lacks intention. It won't be like the quick fixes you've seen in the past. This one will stand. This one will last. The prayer you offered in the dark has now lit a pathway you didn't see coming. And as you move forward, things will fall into place not because of your striving, but because of my rearranging. Don't underestimate the impact of that cry you once whispered into the night. It activated a breakthrough that's now arriving in waves. You are stepping into answers wrapped in peace, solutions soaked in wisdom, and doors that respond to my command. The environment is shifting because the spiritual groundwork is complete. The results you're about to witness didn't appear out of nowhere, they were ushered in by faith, watered by persistence, and delivered by my hand. You are not stepping into luck, you are stepping into alignment. The transformation you longed for has begun, and nothing can reverse what I've set in motion. The appointed moment has finally arrived. What once seemed out of reach is now coming into focus. You've walked through long stretches of uncertainty, carrying promises that felt too distant to hold on to. But I have been counting every step. The season of postponement has fulfilled its purpose, and now I say to you, what was held back is being released. The time of refining has passed, and now you are crossing into realization. The pause was never a punishment, it was preparation for permanence. And now, the waiting has come to its end. What I spoke over your life is about to take form before your very eyes. Not in part, not as a hint, but in fullness, in clarity, in undeniable evidence that my word does not return void. This is the moment when heaven aligns with earth and what was hidden is revealed. The shadows are pulling back. The fog is lifting. You are about to behold what I have been forming in secret places. You've endured the tension between promise and fulfillment with courage, and I honor that persistence. Not many could have held on through the quiet like you did. When others gave up, you stayed anchored. When voices around you questioned, you stood firm. That endurance has not been wasted. I saw every private moment where you had the option to quit but chose to believe instead. And now, because you remained grounded when there was no sign, you'll witness a breakthrough that cannot be missed. The timeline has turned. The hour is ripe. You're not moving toward your answer anymore, it's now moving toward you. The arrival won't be subtle. It will carry weight, presence, and undeniable favor. What once seemed delayed indefinitely is now arriving with accelerated force. You'll look up and realize that everything is shifting not by your efforts but by my decree. I have called time on the delay. I have commanded the release. The spiritual gate that held things in place has been unlocked by obedience, and your portion is no longer in waiting. There will be no more cycles of postponement. There will be no more holding patterns. The pattern has broken. The ceiling has lifted. The things you only dreamed of will now become part of your daily walk. This will not be a momentary victory, it will be the start of sustained movement. You'll feel momentum rise from places where you once experienced stagnancy. People who once overlooked you will begin to notice. Paths that seemed blocked will now clear without resistance. This is not random favor, it is the fruit of staying faithful when it was hardest to. Your story is entering a new chapter, one where things start unfolding rapidly, but peacefully. You won't feel overwhelmed, you will feel carried. You won't have to chase anything down, it will come looking for you, because I've assigned it to find you now. The atmosphere around your life is changing. Where there was tension, there will be relief. Where there was struggle, there will be ease. I am not only delivering what you asked for, I am removing the residue of every moment you waited in pain. I'm redeeming the lost time by multiplying the reward. I'm restoring the energy you spent trusting when you had no visible reason to do so. You are not entering a moment, you are entering a movement. What is approaching is part of a greater wave I have been forming. It will touch more than just you. It will overflow into areas, people, and environments you never imagined would be touched by your obedience. This is more than personal, this is purposeful. I'm using your life as a living testimony of how I fulfill my word to those who refuse to give up. So lift your head not in fear, but in readiness. Watch as what once lingered in the realm of almost becomes your now. You're stepping into visibility, certainty, and fulfillment. The delay has officially ended. Your answer is no longer approaching. It has arrived. You stood before opportunities that refused to yield, situations that stayed unmoved no matter how much faith you poured into them. You knocked, prayed, waited, and still it seemed as though nothing responded. You questioned whether the path was ever meant for you. You wondered if you had missed a sign or taken a wrong turn. But I want you to understand now, those doors weren't locked to harm you. They were temporarily sealed to guard what was not yet aligned for your arrival. Some doors are not denials, they are assignments waiting for divine timing. And that timing has now come. The barriers that once stood firm are about to fall without your effort. I am the one who holds the keys, and I have turned them in your favor. And no bolt, no chain, no obstruction will stand in the way of what I've declared to be your entry point. You won't need to force your way through. You won't have to convince anyone. You won't beg for access. This next opening will not require you to prove your worth, it will respond to the authority I've placed on your life. What once felt impossible will yield as if it had been waiting all along. Because it has. I have been preparing the other side of that threshold with precision. The space behind it had been arranged, the environment cultivated, the people prepared, the purpose positioned. It was never a question of whether you were worthy, it was simply a matter of waiting until every piece was perfectly set. Now, with everything in place, I am swinging it open wide. You will walk through not as someone pleading for permission, but as someone carrying heaven's endorsement. The struggle to access is over. The striving ends here. This is where grace meets movement. This is where favor removes friction. You will recognize the ease that comes with this next step because you've grown so accustomed to pressing forward against resistance. But I am removing the pressure, and in its place, I am giving you acceleration. What previously took months will now happen in moments. Where others have labored endlessly for entry, you will be ushered in with divine invitation. Because I am not only opening the way, I am walking you through it. You won't have to wonder where to go next. You won't second guess if you belong. Everything about this shift will carry the unmistakable imprint of my hand. Even the door itself will testify to my goodness, because those around you will marvel at how quickly it turned. They will say it wasn't possible, that it shouldn't have happened for you, but I will silence every doubt with undeniable evidence. I didn't forget you when others walked through. I saved this opening for your feet, for your assignment, for your timing. It is designed with your name, your story, your calling. And now that the season has changed, it can no longer stay shut. The resistance has been broken by my word. I have spoken release over your path. Nothing can stop it. No voice can argue it. No force can reverse it. I am not just opening one opportunity, I am unlocking a series of them. This is a chain reaction of favor. One door will lead to another, and that one to the next, until you find yourself surrounded by possibilities that once seemed distant dreams. You are not arriving by accident, you are arriving by design. And as you step forward, you'll do so with a peace that can't be explained. You will feel the shift not just around you, but within you. The doubts that lingered will dissolve as you move in certainty. I have gone ahead and made the crooked places straight. And now, with nothing left holding it shut, the door opens swiftly, smoothly, completely. Step through, my child. Everything on the other side have been waiting for this exact moment. It's time. While you waited and wrestled with the ache of delay, I was dispatching help from realms beyond what your eyes could perceive. You were never alone in the stillness. Messengers from my kingdom were already moving on your behalf. Every time you thought nothing was happening, they were carrying instructions, clearing obstacles, and guarding what I declared was yours. What you thought was permanently lost or denied was actually being protected in transit. I gave your breakthrough an escort of glory. My angels, sent forth to serve those who inherit promise, have not only surrounded you, they have been carrying the answer that once seemed distant and unreachable. Not a single detail has been overlooked. Not a single prayer ignored. The burden you've carried for so long is about to be exchanged for a gift you couldn't have delivered to yourself. I saw how deeply you longed for resolution, for something real to break through the fog of disappointment. And so I sent help with hands not of flesh, but of light and obedience. These messengers are not bound by earthly resistance. They move at the speed of my word. They have been walking through locked places and tight spaces, unseen by the natural eye, accomplishing what no human could arrange. Your future was too important for me to leave to chance, too sacred to risk interference from powers that do not serve me. That's why I didn't just speak over your life, I acted in power. Assignments have been out. Blueprints have been delivered. Doors have been unlocked. Favor has been handed over. And all of it is being brought to you in alignment with my perfect will. You believed when hope was scarce. You trusted when evidence was thin. That level of faith doesn't just sit unanswered, it activates my divine resources. Because of your surrender, I have surrounded your situation with heavenly help. There are blessings moving toward you now that no enemy can block, no person can delay, and no fear can destroy. I'm not only sending you help, I'm sending the kind of help that guarantees delivery. Your answer isn't coming through uncertain means. It's not subject to earthly systems or bureaucratic delay. It is being transported by the ones I trust with my highest orders. They don't fumble. They don't fail. They don't forget. The help that is coming has divine instruction. It knows where to go, when to arrive, and what to release. And when it reaches you, it will not just bring provision, it will bring confirmation that you were never abandoned, never overlooked, never discarded. You will know that I heard you from the very beginning, that I was involved long before the first sign of change appeared. The very things you mourned as impossible are now on their way, carried by hands that never tire, delivered by servants who bow to me alone. You will look back at the weight you bore in the dark and realize it was never in vain. The tears, the silence, the waiting, they all made way for what's being released now. This isn't just a response, it's a revelation. I'm showing you that I don't just promise, I perform. And I don't just comfort, I complete. Watch closely. The pieces are falling into place faster than expected. The answers are moving with urgency, not chaos. And behind it all, my angels are ensuring that nothing interferes with the final step. They are not just bringing provision, they are securing peace. They are not just fulfilling orders, they are guarding your heart as the change arrives. What is coming is sacred. What is coming is sealed. What is coming carries my signature. The delay made you question if it was ever coming. But now, as heaven's army delivers what I designed specifically for you, you will see your faith was never wasted. It built the runway for my response. And now, it is landing. There were things you hoped for that didn't come when you expected. Doors that remained closed. Prayers that seemed to echo back unanswered. You wondered if perhaps my silence meant rejection, if the lack of immediate results meant you weren't chosen, or if you somehow missed the window. But hear me clearly now, what you assumed was denial was actually my hand preserving what was too precious to be given prematurely. I never said no to punish you. I was saying not yet because the moment wasn't ready, and neither were all the pieces I wanted in place. You saw it as a lost opportunity, but I had placed a seal over it, keeping it untouched, unspoiled, and fully intact until the fullness of time. I did not forget what you asked. I marked it with intention. I kept it hidden not to deprive you but to protect its value and ensure it aligned with the maturity I was building inside of you. Just as a seed is buried before it blooms, your promise was buried in trust, not death. It didn't disappear. It was hidden for safekeeping. You weren't passed over, you were being prepared. What I've reserved for you was too meaningful to be released before your spirit was able to carry it with wisdom, gratitude, and authority. If I had allowed it to come earlier, you might have doubted its origin or mishandled its purpose. But now your eyes are clearer. Your discernment is sharper. Your spirit is more anchored. And so now, I'm lifting the covering from what was always yours. It's not being given, it's being revealed. And when you see it, you will understand why it couldn't come a moment sooner. You will recognize that the waiting built a strength you didn't even know you needed. What I'm releasing is not delayed leftovers, it's a portion specifically reserved with your name on it, untouched by contamination, guarded from enemy interference, and preserved by divine order. It's arriving now, not because I forgot, but because everything finally agrees with the timing of heaven. You'll realize that if you had received it back then, it would have landed in an environment unfit to sustain it. But now, the atmosphere has shifted. You've been positioned, purified, and postured to receive not just a gift, but an assignment. This isn't something you have to chase or compete for. This was always part of the plan, held in my hand until the day it would do more than answer your need, it would activate your calling. The no that haunted you is being transformed into a resounding now. A locked door you cried in front of is opening into rooms that were waiting to be filled by your presence. And when you step in, it won't feel foreign, it will feel like coming home to something that somehow always belonged to you. Because it did. My reserve is not man's rejection. It's heaven's preservation. When others around you seemed to accelerate, you felt left behind. But I was carving a different path for you, a path where you would not just receive what others had, but where you'd walk in what no one else could duplicate. That's why your journey took a different shape. That's why the pace felt slow. Because I wasn't copying blueprints, I was writing something original. And original things take time. What's being handed to you now has been cultivated in the quiet, protected in the spiritual, and tailored for your life alone. You didn't miss it. You were made for it. And now, the appointed time has arrived. The wait has served its purpose. The covering is being lifted. The delay is being undone. What you thought was no longer possible is now standing at your threshold, not random, not rushed, but fully ripe, fully real, and fully yours. You didn't lose it. You're about to walk into it. What felt like endless breaking was never meant to destroy you, it was preparing the foundation for something only heaven could grow. Every tear you shed, every setback that tried to shake your belief, every lonely night you endured in silence, it was not meaningless. It was nourishment for the very ground where promise now begins to bloom. I never wasted a single wound. What seemed like buried hope was, in truth, planted purpose. Pain is never easy, I know. You cried out, asking why the weight kept pressing, why the crushing wouldn't stop, why the pressure seemed unfair compared to others around you. But what you couldn't see is that the depth of your ache was connected to the depth of your destiny. The soil of your life had to be broken open, softened, and turned not because you were being punished, but because the kind of harvest I prepared for you could not grow on hardened ground. I allowed what was difficult not because I delighted in your struggle, but because I saw what was coming. I saw the fields that would one day be full of fruit that others would taste from. You didn't just survive the pain, you absorbed strength, resilience, insight, and compassion from it. While others only saw your suffering, I saw the seeds being sown in secret. Those lonely moments were sacred. Those silent seasons were divine. You grew roots in places others couldn't even see. And now, the time of harvest is upon you. The pain that once confused you will soon make sense, not because the memory disappears, but because the reward that follows it outweighs what it cost. You are stepping into a reaping season not just emotionally, but spiritually, relationally, and in areas you had completely given up on. Things are going to bloom in unexpected places. Where there was once barrenness, there will be beauty. Where there was emptiness, there will be overflow. I have not forgotten your endurance. I have not overlooked your process. The harvest that comes now isn't something you'll have to fight for. It will spring up from everything I watered while you were breaking. I was near every time you thought you couldn't go on. I whispered strength into your weary heart when you felt abandoned. I captured every cry and buried it deep into the ground of my mercy. Those moments weren't lost, they were recorded and used to fuel what is now rising. And what rises will not only bless you, it will refresh those around you. This isn't just your reward, it's your testimony. Those who once questioned your quiet perseverance will soon witness the visible evidence of my promise fulfilled in you. They'll ask how it all happened, and you'll remember the nights you sowed in faith when nothing made sense. You'll recall the mornings you rose again after being shattered. And you'll know this harvest wasn't random. It was a result of holy endurance. It came from a life yielded to me even when the cost felt too high. And now, I am repaying every sacrifice with purpose. You won't have to strive to gather what I'm releasing. It will come to you. It will chase you down. The blessings will meet you where you are because the soil is ready and the season has shifted. What once looked like failure was actually fertility. And now, new life emerges from the very places you thought were lost. So lift your eyes not in fear of another storm, but in expectancy of rain that brings life. Your field is ready. Your roots are strong. Your faith has endured. Now comes the fruit. Now comes the flourishing. You are not empty, you are full of planted hope. And the world is about to see what blooms when a life surrenders in pain, but stays rooted in promise. This is your harvest, and it begins now. You've heard what felt like rejection echo through different seasons of your life: closed doors, unanswered calls, relationships that dissolved, and dreams that never materialized when you believed they should have. Those moments weren't easy. You gave your best. You stepped out in faith. You prayed with sincere hope. And when the answer didn't come, you questioned what you did wrong. You wondered why things seemed to move for others while you stood still with hands open but empty. But now, I am unveiling something sacred. I never turned my face from you. Those no's were never rooted in cruelty or abandonment. They were strategic protections wrapped in mercy. I was not punishing you. I was preserving the greater purpose. You were asking for what you thought was best, but I was safeguarding you from what couldn't hold you, sustain you, or grow you. What felt like being denied was actually me pulling you back from detours that would have taken you far from the promise I handcrafted just for you. I didn't allow certain things to happen not because you were unworthy, but because you were too valuable to settle for anything less than what I had authored with eternal intent. Now that time has passed, your vision has sharpened. You've walked through refining fire and discovered that I never needed you to perform, I just needed you to trust. And trust you did, even when it hurt. Even when my silence stretched longer than your strength. And now, I step in not with apology, but with fulfillment. I am transforming every past disappointment into divine alignment. What once looked like a closed opportunity will now reveal itself as the very space where something better has been growing behind the curtain. I'm not revisiting the past to make up for it, I'm revealing how I've written it in ways that exceed anything you would have accepted back then. My yes is coming not as compensation, but as completion. It's not a delayed reward. It's a right-on-time release. And when it comes, it won't resemble what you first asked for. It will surpass it. It will speak to the deeper longing you didn't yet have the words to pray. You thought you needed the door to open back then, but now you will see I am something else behind it all along. Something wider, something steadier, something that carries not only provision, but peace. I am lifting you out of regret, away from replaying what could have been, and I am placing you in the center of what I always intended to be. The denials of yesterday are bowing to the declarations of today. Every unanswered prayer is being rewritten with new direction. Every blocked path is now leading to divine purpose, and every ending you once grieved is being replaced with a beginning you didn't see coming. This is not about restoring what was lost. It's about unveiling what was hidden. You are not receiving leftovers, you're stepping into the first fruits of something sacred. I don't simply reverse the pain, I redeem it. And that redemption is now unfolding. Prepare your heart not for recovery, but for discovery. What I'm doing will not only silence your old questions, it will stir a new kind of wonder. You won't just rejoice at what's finally happening. You'll give thanks for what didn't happen when you asked. Because now, you'll see how my timing wasn't late, it was loaded. Every moment of waiting added weight to the blessing. Every closed chapter was a page turning toward something deeper. And now that the moment has come, you'll see clearly. The no you once carried with sorrow has been rewritten into a yes so divine, so undeniable, and so precise that you'll know it could only be me. This is the unfolding of my perfect will. Walk in it, knowing nothing was wasted, not even the delay. The very things that used to exhaust your spirit, those heavy situations, the constant battles, the emotional toll of carrying hope in silence, are about to shift roles in your life. Where they once pulled strength from you, they will now become the very areas where strength flows through you. I am transforming your previous burdens into foundations of blessing. You gave so much of yourself into situations that left you feeling emptied, relationships that took more than they gave, efforts that yielded little visible return, seasons where you poured out faith but saw no fruit. But now, I'm flipping the equation. I am repurposing every draining place, every emotionally taxing memory, every spiritually wearying battle. I am taking what wore you down and making it a wellspring of fresh vitality. You will no longer revisit those experiences and feel depleted, you will revisit them and feel renewed. Because those moments are no longer tied to sorrow, they are now anchors for the testimony I'm building in your life. What once felt like a constant struggle will now become a sacred source of clarity and courage. You are not emerging from weariness to carry the same weight again, you are rising with a new strength, drawn from a deep well that was dug in pain but will now overflow in purpose. The areas where you were once stretched to your limit are now being filled with abundance, resilience, and divine confidence. You've earned this transformation not through striving, but through faithful endurance. And I am rewarding that trust by breathing new life into what once tried to break you. You will look at the situations that drained you and see that they were never meant to destroy you, they were building chambers in your soul that only my spirit could fill. You grew through it. Even when you didn't realize it, you were expanding your faith, your awareness, your intimacy with me. And now, the version of you who endured those difficult seasons is being replaced by the version I envisioned from the beginning, one who walks with power, one who carries the lessons but is no longer bound by the pain. My promise is not coming just to meet a need, it is coming to activate your inner reservoir. The exhaustion is over. The depletion ends here. I am turning the same ground where you wept into a place where you will dance. The locations that drained your joy will now become the places where fresh joy springs up. You are not returning to old struggles. You are revisiting old places with new authority. And where you once lost your voice, you will now find it echoing with purpose. I have rewired your spirit through the struggle. And now, what you carry will no longer leak out through fatigue or fear. It will rise up as oil, pure, pressed, and full of healing. What tried to steal from you has inadvertently added to you. What threatened your peace has now become the proof of my presence. You are being empowered not in spite of what you went through, but because of it. A promise is forming not externally first, but internally. And as it takes shape inside of you, Your outer world will begin to align in response. No more depletion. No more cycles of discouragement. I am declaring over you a divine reversal where loss becomes gain, where tears become tools, where exhaustion gives way to energy that doesn't fade. You're not just stronger now, you're anchored. And that anchor is not tied to circumstances, it's tied to me. I am the source that never runs dry. And from this moment on, what once drained you will now drive you. What once felt like defeat will now inspire your forward motion. The tables have turned. The promise is no longer a distant hope, it is now taking visible form. Watch as strength rises where sorrow used to live. Watch as my presence pours out in places that once echoed with your cries. You are not running on empty. You are overflowing. Because what once took everything from you will now give birth to everything I've planned for you. Long before you step into the places I've prepared, I have already whispered your name into the atmosphere. Doors are being opened not by your striving, but by my decree. You have not yet walked into certain spaces, but your name has already gone ahead of you. It has been spoken in conversations where your feet have never stood. It has been brought up in the minds of people you've never met, people whose decisions will align with the path I've prepared for you. This is not a coincidence. This is providence in motion. I am paving a way where no map existed before, not because of who you know, but because of who I am. Your influence is expanding, not through effort, but through my orchestration. In hidden places, I have placed favor with your name on it. You've been faithful in quiet obedience, and now I'm amplifying your presence in ways that surpass what you could imagine. There are discussions being held, plans being formed, and assignments being drawn out, all with your name attached. You didn't push your way into these moments. I have ushered them in by divine instruction. You once thought no one noticed the weight you carried in silence. You believed your sacrifices were unseen. But now I show you what you did in the secret is being rewarded in the open. What was done without applause is being honored without limits. You don't need to network your way into this. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. I've already placed the awareness of your name on the hearts of those appointed to bless you. Your ears have heard what your hands have not yet done. I've stirred compassion, curiosity, and conviction in the people assigned to assist your journey. They may not even understand why they're drawn to your name, but I do. I placed it in their spirit. That conversation you've been waiting for, it's already begun. That opportunity you've been praying about, it's already been set into motion. The access you need, it's already been granted in the realm that governs what you see. And now, I'm aligning time with purpose so that your steps meet the path I've completed in advance. You will not have to fight for recognition. You will not need to battle for visibility. I have already announced you in places of significance. I am the one who promotes without politics, who exalts without compromise, who opens doors that no one can close. And when you arrive, it will feel as though the room was waiting for you all along, because it was. I do not prepare places without preparing people. I do not elevate lives without establishing legacy. And what I've ordained for you is not fragile. It will not be taken by another. It is reserving, preserved, and timed to perfection. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of your name. I'm the one setting it into motion. It's not about fame, it's about fulfillment. It's not about being known by crowds, it's about being remembered by the right voices. And those voices are already speaking. They are aligning their hands to receive you, their hearts to welcome you, their influence to endorse what I've planted inside of you. This next chapter will not come by chance, it will come by my design. And when you look back, you will understand that I was never slow, I was intentional. Every delay you faced was working in harmony with every conversation you couldn't hear. I was setting the stage for your arrival. And now, walk boldly. Speak confidently. Live peacefully. You are stepping into places prepared not by people, but by promise. I've gone before you. I've spoken your name. And I will walk with you every step of the way. There were moments you felt suspended in a timeline that made no sense. You wondered why doors didn't budge, why opportunities slipped past, Why prayers hung in the air like unanswered letters. You searched your heart for error, assuming maybe you misread my voice or miscalculated your worth. But I want you to see now that there was never a mistake in my timing, only precision. When I whispered not yet, it was not to deny you, but to protect the perfection of the moment I had set aside for what you longed for. Every delay held a purpose you could not yet perceive. Every pause carried power that would only make sense when the appointed hour arrived. And now, that hour has come. You are standing in the now I designed before time itself began. I wasn't withholding, I was reserving. I was aligning all things so that when the release came, it would arrive without cracks, without confusion, and without compromise. If I had allowed it earlier, you would have stepped into something half-formed, something not fully blessed, something still tangled in obstacles I was clearing away behind the scenes. You were not being left behind, you were being aligned with destiny that does not rush. I've never operated according to human clocks. I move according to divine sequence, and your life is unfolding in perfect rhythm with the pulse of my will. Now that the moment has matured, what once felt impossible is being made available. The fog that lingered is lifting. What once felt like delay is being redefined as protection. You'll look back and thank me for not saying yes too soon, for not releasing what you weren't yet ready to carry, for not allowing you to settle for something less than what was destined to bring fullness. I watched you wait, not in bitterness but in fragile trust. I saw you whisper, I still believe, even when your heart ached under the silence. That kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of faith activates what nothing else can. I've been weaving moments, molding circumstances, shifting the hearts of others, and maturing the spaces that needed to receive you well. Because when I bring you into a season, I don't bring you into chaos, I bring you into clarity. And that's what's being birthed now. My not yet was never a rejection. It was an echo of deeper love. It was me saying, I'm preparing better. It was me ensuring that the arrival of your promise wouldn't be premature or partial, it would be whole. It would be blessed, and it would be right. There is a divine difference between a gift given quickly and a gift given in season. What you're receiving now hath been marinated in purpose, saturated in my presence, and delivered with timing only I could manage. And because of that, it will last. It won't be something that fades or slips away. It will be rooted. It will grow. It will multiply. You'll feel the peace that comes with knowing it didn't happen through pressure or manipulation. It came because I opened the way at the right time. The moment you're entering now is not fragile. It's fortified. And because of that, you can step in without fear of it unraveling. You'll feel a strange familiarity, as though your soul already knew this was coming. This because I planted glimpses of it in your spirit long ago, enough to keep you hoping, enough to help you hold on. And now, the wait transforms into wonder. You're no longer looking for when, because the when has become now. So receive it not with panic, but with praise. Walk forward not with haste, but with holy confidence. I'm unveiling why I waited, and in the unveiling, you will realize it was never a delay, it was design. This is the time I chose, and I do all things well. You've looked around and compared your journey to others, wondering why your milestones didn't arrive when theirs did. You watched timelines unfold for people beside you while your own seemed frozen, and quietly, you feared you missed something vital, that maybe you were behind, overlooked, or forgotten. But what you must understand now is this: your story was never off track. It was being finely tuned to a rhythm far more perfect than any human calendar. I was not rushing your growth to meet expectations. I was rooting you deeply to sustain elevation. You are not delayed, you are in divine alignment. While others sprinted ahead chasing timing, I was anchoring you in process. I was refining your character, shaping your focus, removing distractions, building inner strength, and calibrating your perspective so that when your appointed moment arrived, you wouldn't just receive the blessing, you would carry it with grace, steward it with wisdom, and protect it with maturity. The waiting didn't put you behind, it placed you in exact position. Because I'm not preparing you for a temporary breakthrough, I'm establishing you for lasting impact. There's a reason the promise took time. Precious things require pressure and patience. I couldn't give you what you carry now until the weight of it would not crush you. So while you measured time by days and months, I was measuring readiness. I don't move according to speed, I move according to wholeness. And now, what once seemed like a stall is being revealed as sacred synchronization. Everything is coming together not randomly, but purposefully. Encounters are lining up, opportunities are being unlocked, and peace is beginning to flow, not because you forced them, but because you waded through the fire and trusted me when it felt like nothing was happening. The truth is, the longer you waited, the deeper I was working. What others couldn't see was the invisible construction happening inside of you. In silence, I built endurance. In disappointment, I taught discernment. In solitude, I nurtured sensitivity to my voice. All of it was necessary, because now that you are aligned, you will no longer have to stretch to reach what belongs to you, it will begin reaching for you. Alignment means acceleration without exhaustion. It means progress without panic. You're not striving to catch up anymore, you're walking in step with the unfolding of my will. And with every step, what you need will appear. You won't have to prove that you're worthy, you've already been approved. You won't have to chase acceptance, you've already been chosen. What was being forged in you through the weight is now becoming the foundation under your feet. So take heart. There is no such thing as too late in the hands of the one who holds time. I redeem it, reshape it, and reign over it. If I had rushed the process, something vital would have been missed. But now, nothing is missing. You are whole. You are ready. And you are right on time. The tension you once felt between desire and delay is breaking because the release is beginning. Things that felt hard will start to flow. Places that felt dry will start to bloom. Ideas that felt premature will suddenly find favor. You'll see connections forming like puzzle pieces snapping into place, because the season has finally come where your preparation meets my provision. And when it happens, you'll feel the difference. You'll sense the ease that only comes from being exactly where you're meant to be. This is not luck. It's not accident. It's not late. This is alignment. You are standing in the now I shaped through every unseen moment of your waiting. And what's next will prove that you were never behind, you were becoming. You watched certain individuals drift from your life, some slowly, others suddenly, and it left a quiet ache you didn't always know how to explain. Their absence felt like rejection, like an unexpected silence after seasons of shared laughter, trust, and plans. You asked me why I allowed it. You wondered what changed, or if you had done something wrong. But what you couldn't yet see is that I allowed their exit not as a loss but as a refinement. There were attachments that could not carry the weight of what I was about to do in you. Not everyone who started the journey was meant to witness the unveiling. Some connections were only appointed for a chapter, not the entire story. If they had stayed, they would have diluted the sacredness of the season I was preparing for you. You see, when I pour something new into your life, something holy, set apart, deeply woven with destiny, I must first ensure the environment is clean. Not perfect but pure. Not crowded but consecrated. And so, in my mercy, I created space. I allowed distance. I removed distractions disguised as loyalty. Because the promise I'm unfolding in you needed to be protected from the influence of those not called to steward it. Had they stayed, they might have mishandled what I was nurturing. They might have pulled you off course, injected doubt into your clarity, or attached their motives to your moment. And because I love you too much to let that happen, I kept watch over your circle. While others looked at your shrinking crown and called it loneliness, I called it sanctification. I wasn't subtracting to hurt you, I was refining to prepare you. Sometimes the pruning feels like abandonment, but it's actually alignment. I didn't let them walk away to punish you, I allowed them to exit so your heart would be unburdened. So that when the blessing arrived, it would land in soil not trampled by mixed intentions. I stayed. I remained. In every quiet hour, I drew nearer. When the conversation stopped and the invitations ended, I surrounded you with my presence in ways more intimate than you've ever known. You learned to hear me in the silence, to find me when no one else could fill the room. And in that secret place, I revealed the parts of you that were waiting to emerge: the strength, the vision, the discernment, the calling. If the noise had continued, you would have missed the whisper. And that whisper became the doorway to everything that's opening now. What I'm releasing in this season needed to be born in stillness. And now that it's ready, I'm surrounding it with people who are chosen, not convenient. People who are assigned, not just attached. People who carry honor, not hidden agendas. You won't have to question their presence. You'll feel the difference. You'll know they've been sent to walk with you, not to weigh you down. And you will see how every person who exited made room for what truly matters. The purity of this blessing is no accident. It's the result of me preserving it with care. I'm not just giving you what you asked for, I'm wrapping it in peace, planting it in safety, and anchoring it in relationships that carry my heart. Don't more who left. Bless them, release them, and step forward. Their departure created the stillness necessary for something greater to take root. And now, as I begin to unfold what I've hidden for so long, you will understand why I allowed the separation. I never left. I never distanced myself. In fact, while others turned away, I drew closer. Because this moment, this breakthrough, this turning point, it had to be preserved. And I stayed to make sure that when it came, you'd receive it in a space where only my glory would be magnified. What's arriving is pure, because I made sure the way was clear. The tears you cried in secret, the ache that echoed through your chest when goodbyes came too soon or connections unraveled without explanation, none of it was meaningless. I was there when your heart cracked from betrayal, when promises dissolved into silence, when people you trusted changed direction and left you questioning your worth. You didn't see it then, but I was intervening not to cause you pain, but to protect you from greater damage you couldn't yet discern. The very things you thought were breaking you were actually building a wall of mercy around your destiny. You prayed for peace, for safety, for purpose, and sometimes that answer looked like separation, like disappointment, like a door that never opened. But in truth, I was sheltering your calling. There were voices in your life that seemed kind, yet carried intentions that would have eroded your confidence over time. There were hands you held that couldn't carry your future, and words you believed that would have misled your path. So I intervened not with thunder, but with removal. I took things apart before they could dismantle you. And yes, it hurt. But that pain has a purpose that will soon become clear. Every heartbreak redirected you. Every no routed you. Every closed path protected what I had waiting ahead. You were never being punished, you were being preserved. You longed for companionship, but I was more concerned with your covenant. I was preparing a foundation too sacred to be touched by what wasn't loyal to your calling. So I severed ties not to leave you in isolation, but to lead you into protection. I used loss as a shield. I used discomfort as a compass. I used the end of relationships as the beginning of revelation. And through it all, I held your heart gently. When it shattered, I was the one collecting every fragment. When you doubted your value, I whispered truth in the quiet. When you questioned why things fell apart, I was already constructing something stronger. My protection doesn't always come dressed in soft moments. Sometimes it wears the face of heartbreak so that deeper harm never reaches you. I saw what you couldn't. I heard conversations spoken behind your back. I discerned motives hidden behind smiles. And out of love, I stepped in. I redirected your life not out of control, but out of care. One day soon, you'll look back and breathe relief over the very events that once devastated you. You'll understand why I blocked certain doors, why I silenced some voices, why I allowed temporary sorrow to prevent permanent sorrow. The people you lost, the chances that slipped away, the roles that never became yours, none of them were designed to carry what's coming now. And had they stayed, they would have corrupted what I'm unfolding. I was never careless with your heart. I was fiercely protective of what I placed inside you. The heartbreaks didn't destroy your destiny, they cleared the way for it. They exposed what couldn't go with you, and they sharpened your spirit to recognize what's real. Because of them, you've become more sensitive, more grounded, more aware. And now, you're entering a season where you will love without losing yourself, connect without compromising your peace, and grow without grieving what you had to leave. The people coming into your life now will not confuse you. They will not fragment you. They will not dim the light I've placed inside. They will speak life, bring clarity, and walk with intention. And you will recognize them easily, not because they feel familiar, but because they carry my presence. You'll no longer fear connection, because you'll understand that I am now surrounding you with relationships born from alignment, not accident. This next chapter is not about repeating the pain, it's about revealing the protection that came through it. What once felt like heartbreak will soon feel like healing, because I was always on guard, always ahead, always acting on your behalf. You didn't lose, you were preserved. And now I'm showing you why. There were moments in your journey when those around you concluded that your story had reached a dead end. They looked at the silence, the setbacks, the sudden halts in your life, and quietly decided you were done. They saw the loss, the breakdowns, the withdrawals, and assumed that nothing more could rise from what looked like ashes. But what they couldn't see, what even you struggled to believe at times, was that I was only just beginning. My ways are not shaped by appearances. I specialize in resurrection, in revival, in rewriting what was dismissed as final. I never saw the ending others imagine. I saw a sacred pause, a deep inhale before the greatest exhale of your life. You were not being buried, you were being planted. What they called your finish line, I called your foundation. While others were moving on, writing you off, I was writing a new chapter so unexpected, so saturated in glory, that it could only emerge after the false endings fell away. Let them think it was over. Let them remember you by the chapter they saw, because what I'm about to unveil won't just surprise them. It will awaken you. You will begin to see how I used disappointment to redirect your future, how I used silence to anchor your spirit, how I used closed doors to guide you to the ones that were already open in my design. The loss was not your downfall, it was your unveiling. The collapse wasn't your conclusion, it was my construction zone. You thought you had reached the final page, but I was merely turning it slowly so you wouldn't miss the richness of what I was about to write next. You see, I don't start a story without knowing exactly how I'll fulfill it. I don't begin without having already finished it in eternity. So while others walked away, assuming your moment had passed, I remained, shaping something deeper in the shadows. The miracle I've prepared doesn't rise in noise, it grows in hidden places. It waits until everything around it has quieted down so that when it arrives, there is no mistaking that it came from me. And now, I'm peeling back the curtain. You're not stepping back, you're stepping into what I always had in mind. This is your emergence. This is where the misunderstood chapters give way to divine clarity. And those who assumed you were finished will become witnesses to a revival so personal, so purposeful, that they will know it wasn't your doing, it was mine. I'm not bringing you back as who you used to be. I'm elevating you as someone new, refined, strengthened, focused, filled. The version of you that's about to rise is not returning to repeat the past. You're stepping into a fresh beginning that carries no residue of what tried to end you. This new beginning is not a second chance, it's a first unveiling. It's the revelation of who you've been becoming all along, hidden beneath the battles, shaped in the shadows, formed in the fire. The delay, the heartbreak, the stillness, they all served this. And now, as I breathe upon the dreams you thought had died, you'll feel hope return, not the kind you must force, but the kind that flows because it's rooted in what I've promised. Watch what I do now. Watch how I raise you from what others overlooked. Watch how I take the ruins and rebuild something so radiant that no one will doubt it came from my hand. Let this be your reminder. I write stories that rise from endings. I speak beginnings where silence lingers. And I choose moments that no one expects to deliver miracles that no one can deny. The end they imagined with the entrance I designed. This is not over. This is the start. And it begins now. You remember the sting of exclusion, the times when you were overlooked, passed by, misunderstood, or told you weren't enough. You carried yourself into places with courage, only to be met with closed doors, forced smiles, and silent dismissals. You questioned if something was wrong with you. You wrestled with self-doubt because the very spaces you hoped would welcome you seemed to shut tighter each time you came near. But I was watching not as a distant observer, but as a careful orchestrator. I allowed those doors to remain shut not to diminish you, but to protect what I was still developing within you. The rejection wasn't proof of inadequacy, it was a redirection toward something greater. If I had allowed you to remain where you were not honored, it would have distorted your identity. So I held you back, not because you weren't ready, but because the room wasn't. And now, everything has changed. The places that once turned you away are being prepared to receive you, not as someone begging for entry, but as someone carrying weight, authority, and my undeniable favor. The very tables that denied you a seat are being rearranged to make room for your presence. I have gone ahead of you and spoken your name in places you didn't even know were watching. And now, what was once rejection will become recognition, not based on human approval, but because my glory cannot be resisted. You are not returning as who you once were. You are entering as someone refined, sharpened by fire, matured in hiddenness, and surrounded by my power. You no longer need to explain yourself or prove your worth. Your presence, saturated in my hand, will be enough. You will walk into these places, and the atmosphere will shift not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. My favor is not subtle. It speaks when you don't. It moves hearts that were once hardened. It softens the gaze of those who once dismissed you. What they couldn't see before is now undeniable because I've placed my mark upon you. I'm opening doors that don't require permission from people. What once seemed impossible will now open without resistance. Not only will you be accepted, but honored. Not only welcomed, but wanted. Not for who you pretended to be, but for who I created you to be. They will not recognize the old version they thought they knew. They will see someone covered in light, walking in confidence, no longer shaped by their rejection, but formed by my presence. I've prepared you for this moment, not for revenge, but for redemption. Not to boast in their change of heart, but to glorify mine. Because this is not about proving anyone wrong. This is about fulfilling what I said all along. You were always called. You were always set apart. And now, I'm bringing you into rooms not to fit in, but to shift the very atmosphere. You are not stepping in as a guest, you are entering as a carrier of divine authority. The platform is no longer built on striving. It is anchored in calling. And because of that, you will not be shaken by opinions. You won't flinch at shadows of the past. You'll smile not because of pride, but because you will finally see why every no was a necessary pause before this release. The story is changing. The narrative is shifting. And your arrival won't be subtle. It will be holy. It will be undeniable. You won't need a title to be recognized. You won't need validation to be chosen. The favor I've placed on you will make way where credentials fall short. Walk in, and not timidly but boldly. You are stepping into fulfillment, not fantasy. Into manifestation, not imagination. I've gone before you. I've made space. I've turned hearts. And now, what once shut you out will open wide, not by force, but by favor. This time, nothing can stop what I have placed upon your life. The room is ready. And so are you. They doubted you. They whispered, they assumed, and some even declared with certainty that you wouldn't make it. Your silence during their speculation only fed their confidence in your collapse. They mistook your stillness for stagnancy. They mistook your pause for failure. What they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that I was preparing something sacred beneath the surface, something not built to impress, but to endure. I allowed their words to pass by you not because I was absent, but because I was using their disbelief to magnify the revelation that was coming. I was crafting a testimony so undeniable that even those who tried to label your limit would witness your elevation. You didn't retaliate. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't lower yourself to respond to their doubt. And that silence became holy ground where I planted something so deep, so divine, that now, as it begins to rise, it carries the power to silence every critic without you saying a word. I never needed your defense, I only asked for your trust. You stayed low when you could have shouted. You remained faithful when you could have fought to be seen. And now, I am exalting what was hidden. Not for applause, but for evidence. Evidence that I was always with you. Evidence that I answer in ways no human prediction could have calculated. The same mouths that once questioned your path will now speak of the wonder rising from your life. Not because you need their affirmation, but because I am using your journey to reveal my hand. You are not being elevated out of vengeance. You are being elevated because it is time for my light to be revealed through what others call unlikely. There is no need to fear their presence when I prepare your table. A feast is not for you to boast, it's for me to be glorified. They will see the peace on your face. They will sense the strength in your words. They will notice the fruit of what once looked like failure. And in that noticing, they will witness something even deeper, the presence of a God who builds in silence, who honors faithfulness, and who lifts his children without needing the approval of man. This is not about proving I'm wrong. It's about revealing that I was always right. Every time they counted you out, I was counting up the days to your unveiling. Every time they spoke limitations over you, I was speaking life into you. And now, that life is blooming. The fragrance of what I've cultivated in you will rise above the noise of their opinions. What once were voices of skepticism will now fall into stunned silence, not because you've changed to meet their expectations, but because you've grown into what I ordained. You no longer need to carry the burden of being misunderstood. The results I'm releasing will speak for themselves. You don't need to rehearse responses, you will walk in results. You don't need to revisit their words, you'll live in mine. I am redeeming the moments when their voices echoed louder than my promise in your heart. And now, that promise is becoming visible. What once lived only in your spirit is taking shape around you. They will see, not just a change in your circumstances, but a shift in your atmosphere. They will sense something holy about you, something they didn't expect, something they cannot deny. That is my glory. Not in glitter, but in depth. Not in noise, but in transformation. What I'm building in your life is too sacred to be denied, too real to be debated. It will cause some to rethink everything they believed about you. But more importantly, it will cause them to reconsider what they believe about me. Because through you, I am making a statement not about your power, but about mine. Not about your plans, but about my faithfulness. You kept going when they stopped watching. You stayed planted when they turned away. And now, the harvest will rise where only I was watching, and all will see that I was with you the whole time. You carried burdens that no one knew about, quiet offerings of love, obedience, and surrender that were seen only by me. You chose integrity when compromise would have been easier. You walked away from opportunities that glittered but did align with my voice. You stayed loyal to paths that looked slower, harder, lonelier because you trusted me more than you trusted applause. And in the process, you laid down things you could have clung to. You gave up comfort for conviction. You let go of people, platforms, and preferences so that your soul could remain anchored in me. Others saw glimpses of your journey, but only I saw the depth of the cost. I watched when you gave in secret. I listened when you prayed with trembling lips, not asking for reward, but only for strength to continue. I heard the yes you whispered to me when no one else would understand why you turned the other way. And now I say to you, none of it went unnoticed. Not a single offering, no matter how small, was lost. What's coming next isn't just a blessing, it's a response. A response to the seeds you sowed in unseen places. A response to the moments you kept believing when nothing changed. A response to the tears you wiped away without asking for sympathy. This release is not random. It's a divine repayment of what you laid down when no one was watching. It's me honoring what you thought would go unseen forever. Because with me, Nothing done in faith is ever forgotten. I record every gesture of trust. I gather every tear. I mark every moment you chose me over the world. And now, the season of return has begun. What I'm about to release will not only make sense of the pain, it will validate the purpose. I'm not just giving back what you gave up. I'm multiplying it, sanctifying it, and pouring it back into your life in ways you couldn't have orchestrated yourself. This isn't a simple restoration. It's a resurrection of everything that died in your obedience. The relationships you let go of, the dreams you buried for my sake, the time you spent serving without recognition. I'm breathing new life into all of it. You will begin to see beauty emerge from the ashes of your surrender. Not to glorify the sacrifice, but to magnify the one who saw it all. I've prepared doors that open because of what you gave behind closed ones. I've lined up blessings that respond to the sound of your quiet yes. And when they come, you will feel the weight of my kindness. You will recognize that every season of cost with a season of investment. You didn't lose, it just hasn't returned until now. This next move will carry the fragrance of fulfillment, the texture of healing, and the clarity of divine orchestration. And you'll know this isn't something you earned, it's something I promised. I'm redeeming the quiet sacrifice, the silent obedience, the disciplined love you chose when it would have been easier to walk away. I know how tired you got. I know how tempted you were to abandon the process. But you stayed. You stood. You believed. And now, I'm rewarding the unseen with the undeniable. Get ready for moments where joy overtakes you in the middle of ordinary days. Expect sudden waves of clarity and breakthrough. Don't be surprised when what you gave up shows up in a better form, refined, blessed, and wrapped in peace. Because I never asked you to surrender so you could be empty, I asked you to make space so I could fill it with something eternal. And now that the time has arrived, nothing can stop what I'm about to release. It's coming not just because I love you, but because I remember everything you laid down to love me back. You've been walking with a heaviness few could see, a constant, silent weight pressing on your shoulders, built from layers of responsibilities, unspoken pain, quiet disappointments, and battles you fought behind closed doors. You carried it not because you were weak, but because you were faithful. You kept moving when it would have been easier to sit down. You kept showing up even when your soul felt drained. You smiled through storms, encouraged others while you were breaking, and gave when you barely had enough for yourself. You told yourself you'd be okay as long as others were helped. And I saw that. I saw every sacrifice, every day you held your breath just to keep going, every night you collapsed with tears you didn't explain to anyone. And now, I tell you this, the exchange is here. What weighed you down is about to lift, not slowly, but all at once. I am not asking you to carry what I never intended you to bear forever. I am stepping in to lift the invisible burdens that have followed you like shadows. And in place of those weights, I am pouring in a joy so profound, so rich, that it will rise from within you and spill into everything around you. This joy isn't shallow. It isn't temporary. It's not the kind that comes from good news or easy days. It's the kind that emerges from deep healing. It's born out of knowing that I never left your side, not once. It's the kind of joy that doesn't need to be explained, it simply overflows. The heaviness will not define your days anymore. You won't wake up with dread or go to sleep in weariness. I'm changing the atmosphere of your life, from heavy to light, from burdened to blessed, from weary to renewed. You will feel laughter return where silence lived too long. You will feel peace settle in your chest where tension once stayed like an unwanted guest. This isn't a moment of relief, it's a new lifestyle. I'm teaching you to breathe again, freely. I'm showing you how to live not as someone who survives storms, but as someone who carries my presence with ease. The sorrow you endured has completed its assignment. It taught you compassion. It deepened your awareness of my voice. And now it's time to release it. You are not meant to remain in survival mode. I'm transitioning you into overflow. And this joy, this deep, soul-anchoring joy is not fragile. It doesn't waver with circumstance. It isn't stolen by bad news or shaken by delays. It comes from me, and what comes from me cannot be undone by the world. I am replacing the memories that once triggered grief with new ones filled with grace. You'll find yourself in moments where tears fall again, but this time, not from sorrow, but from overwhelming gratitude. You'll remember how close I stayed when everything seemed like it was falling apart, and that realization alone will spark a joy that never fades. Others will ask how you found light again, and your answer won't come from formulas or advice, it will flow from experience. Because you will know what it feels like to be held by me. This is the exchange: sorrow for singing, heaviness for hope, mourning for movement. You'll walk differently now. Not with the slump of a soul worn down, but with the steady stride of someone who's been carried by grace. And those around you will notice. They'll sense the shift. They'll see the glow in your eyes return, the strength in your voice restore, the lightness in your spirit increase. Because this isn't a small change, it's a holy transformation. You are stepping into the fulfillment of a promise I made long ago, that those who sow in tears will reap in joy. And that reaping begins now. Let the weight fall. Let the joy rise. I'm not giving you a piece of gladness, I'm flooding your life with it. From the inside out. There is a calmness approaching that you've never known in this way before. Not because your circumstances are perfect, but because what I am releasing into your life is coming straight from my hand, and what comes from me carries no strain. You've grown used to associating breakthrough with struggle, results with exhaustion, and progress with pressure. You've believed that to see fruit, you had to constantly labor without rest, hustle without pause, and fight every step just to stay above the surface. But now, I am shifting the rhythm. I'm teaching you that what I author does not demand striving, it invites stillness. When I send the answer, it will not feel like a weight added to your back. It will feel like a weight lifted from your soul. That's how you will know it's me. You will recognize my signature not just by the door that opens, but by the rest that floods your heart as you walk through it. My peace is the seal on what I provide. My favor does not come at the cost of your wellness. It doesn't fracture your mind or stretch you into anxiety. It doesn't place you into situations where you must shrink who you are just to remain. I am not the God of performance, I am the God of presence. And when I move on your behalf, you will know it, because things will begin to unfold with clarity, timing, and confirmation that no man could have manufactured. You've carried too many decisions with fear of choosing wrong. You've asked me again and again, what if I miss it? What if I mess it up? But here is my assurance. You won't have to chase this answer. It will meet you. It will sit gently in your spirit and make sense in ways words cannot explain. You will find yourself breathing deeper, sleeping easier, smiling from a place of quiet confidence. Because the things I bring don't create chaos, they carry my nature. I've watched you wrestle, not just with situations, but with the pressure to always get it right. I've seen the way your heart anxiously analyzes what should be simple. But you don't have to live like that anymore. I am removing the spirit of pressure that's tried to masquerade as responsibility. You've been obedient. You've been faithful. Now, I'm asking you to receive. And as you do, I will confirm my hand in it, not with noise, but with a holy ease. Don't expect this next chapter to come with the weight of past ones. This isn't another uphill battle, it's a prepared place. You are not arriving through force. You are arriving through alignment. And you will know it's me, because everything in your spirit will respond with peace. Doors will open without manipulation. Opportunities will find you without you having to strive for visibility. Conversations will align. Timing will match. And your spirit will exhale in relief instead of gasping in confusion. That is how I move decisively, calmly, with purpose. I do not pressure you into destiny. I lead you into it. My spirit doesn't shove, it guides. My answer won't feel like a demand, it will feel like a fulfilled promise. You will stand in the center of what I've orchestrated and know deep down, this is the Lord's doing. You won't have to force it to fit. You won't need to justify it to others. The peace on it will speak louder than any explanation you could give. And when the enemy tries to whisper doubt, remind him, I do not bless through stress. I do not move through torment. My answers never come wrapped in fear. They arrive clothed in assurance, clarity, and grace, yet ready for things to move with ease. Not because life will be without challenges, but because I am with you in it. And when I walk you into something, you walk with my strength, my presence, and my pace. There is no pressure in my will, only peace. And your answer, it's coming that way. You've spent so many seasons standing outside doors, hoping they'd move, praying they'd shift, knocking with faith that someone would hear. You waited through delays, leaned into hope through closed moments, and chose trust when logic told you to turn back. Every knock was an act of surrender, every unanswered moment with a lesson in persistence. But now, the time of knocking is over. The door you've long stood before is no longer closed, it is moving. Not slowly, not with hesitation, but with unmistakable momentum. This time, it's not your effort that's unlocking it, it's my authority. I am the one who opens what no man can shut. I am the one who positions favor at the threshold of destiny. And now, I am swinging wide what was once sealed, because what's behind it has been prepared in full. You won't have to ask for permission to enter. You won't need to plead or persuade. This entrance hath been assigned, not requested. And because it was written by my hand, no opposition can hold it back. You've passed the test of waiting. You've been refined in the hallway. And now, the transition from waiting to walking begins. The door is not just opening, it's welcoming. Everything about it is responding to the weight of your obedience and the timing of my will. You'll know this moment by the ease, by the alignment, by the peace that rushes into your spirit without explanation. You've grown so used to delay that ease might feel unfamiliar at first, but this is my way of showing you that favor often flows without fanfare. You'll step into rooms that feel like home, even though your feet have never touched their floors. You'll hear your name in conversations you didn't initiate. You'll find yourself surrounded by opportunities you didn't orchestrate. That's because I've gone ahead of you. I've whispered your name in sacred places. I've turned the hearts of those you're called to align with. This isn't a random open door, it's a prophetic fulfillment. You were never forgotten. I was working while you were waiting. I was arranging details that had to be right before you walked in. And now that everything is in place, I am drawing back the barrier and inviting you forward not as a guest, but as someone who belongs. This space has been tailored for your voice, your vision, your gifting. You won't feel like an outsider trying to earn your way in. You'll feel like you've arrived exactly where I always intended. The closed seasons taught you humility. The locked doors taught you resilience. But this opening will teach you how light it feels to walk in grace. No striving, no fear, just movement, just access, just fulfillment. You are not stepping into another cycle of uncertainty, you are stepping into clarity, into completion. The prayers you thought went unanswered were actually the blueprint beneath this door. Every delay was layering strength into your soul so that when the moment arrived, you would not question if it was yours. And I say to you, now it is. Walk through it not with hesitation, but with honor. Not as one who stumbled into blessing, but as one who was chosen to carry it. There will be no need to force this open. No need to knock one more time. The door is already in motion, and your name has been called. Enter in. What you've been waiting for is not behind you. It's right ahead. Waiting open, wide and full of promise. What's ahead of you is greater than what you've seen, but it won't crush you, because I've already made provision for the weight of the blessing. I knew what you'd need before you got here. I saw the size of the doors I'd open, the magnitude of the assignments I'd release, and the layers of responsibility they would carry. But I did not lead you this far only to let the promise feel like a burden. I have already gone before you and placed the right people, the right voices, the right strength in your path. Help is not something you will need to beg for, it's already been appointed. You will not have to navigate what's coming alone. You will not be thrown into a blessing that you're unequipped to carry. I've aligned divine support around you, people who are not just capable, but called. People who won't compete with your light but will protect it. People who aren't coming with conditions, but with covenant hearts that I have prepared in secret to walk with you in public. There will be no confusion about their presence. You will feel the difference instantly. I have removed leeches and scent lifters. I have exchanged critics for confidants. I have silenced those who only came close to drain, and I am surrounding you now with those who pour, who strengthen, who build. What's on the other side of this open door is not a solitary climb, it is a connected elevation. And even more than people, I have positioned divine assistance. There are angels stationed to accompany you. There are resources you haven't seen that are already assigned to your next steps. You won't be scrambling for clarity. I'm sending confirmation at every turn. When the door opens, you'll feel the peace and the protection because I didn't just release opportunity, I surrounded it with my presence. You've walked through long stretches where help was scarce, where you had to be strong even when you were unraveling inside. You endured seasons where it felt like you had no backup, no support, no refuge. And though you made it, the memory of that loneliness made you afraid that success might isolate you even more. But I speak to that fear now and break it. This next chapter won't feel like a solo fight. You won't be outnumbered. You won't be spiritually exhausted. I have recalibrated your surroundings. This time, the people around you will be equally yoked with your vision. They'll get it without you having to over-explain. They'll see what I placed in you and stand guard over it, not from obligation, but out of reverence for what I'm doing in your life. I've placed you on the hearts of those you haven't even met yet, and when your paths cross, there will be divine familiarity. You won't need to wonder if they're sent. You'll know by the fruit of their presence. They won't distract, they'll stabilize. They won't pressure, they'll protect. Because I've sent them not to change your identity, but to help you carry your inheritance. And beyond people, I have given you something more. My Spirit He is your counselor, your compass, your comforter. When you feel unsure, He will steady you. When things move quickly, He will pace you. When your soul grows tired, He will refresh you. You are not walking into this promise unguarded. I'm covering every detail. I am saturating every moment with grace that strengthens, wisdom that steadies, and support that surprises you with its accuracy. There will be moments where you wonder how things are happening so smoothly, and it will be because I've already made the crooked paths straight. You've done the hard part, waiting, trusting, obeying. Now I'm doing the heavy lifting. Step through the open door with no fear of being overwhelmed. You are walking into what I've finished long before you asked, and I've made sure everything you will need is already waiting there for you. There have been voices around you and at times, inside your own mind, that whispered doubt louder than faith. They said you were dreaming too big, waiting too long, believing too much. They cloaked their words in realism, in logic, in concern, but at the root of it, they carried fear and limitation. These voices questioned your hope, mocked your endurance, and tried to reduce your faith into something explainable. Some came from people you trusted, others came from moments of inner fear when nothing seemed to shift, and still others came through the enemy, cloaked in subtle lies, attempting to wear down your resolve over time. But I was listening. I heard every word spoken over you, both the open comments and the silent assumptions. And I did not let one of them define you. In fact, I used them to sharpen your ears to hear me more clearly. And now, I say to you, I am silencing those voices. I am removing their influence. I am cutting their access to your belief. Not only that, I am exposing their powerlessness. The very things they said would never happen are now unfolding. The very dreams they called unrealistic are now becoming undeniable. But this is not about proving anyone wrong, it's about proving my word true. I did not place promises inside you to be buried by unbelief. I planted them to bloom in the face of impossibility. I've been guarding the roots while the voices tried to trample your soil. I've been nurturing your inner faith even when you couldn't see anything above ground. And now, the growth will speak louder than the opposition ever did. You will no longer be tormented by doubts that were never yours to carry. The noise is ending. I am restoring your confidence not just in yourself, but in my voice over your life. What I spoke is still standing. What I promised is still active. And every time you question whether it would really come to pass, I was already arranging the moment it would. You are stepping into the fulfillment of declarations I made in secret places, words you wept over, wrote down, prayed back to me through clenched fists and tired breath. And now, I am making those words visible. The ones who said you misunderstood me will witness the clarity of what I meant. The ones who said you were chasing shadows will see substance take shape. And even more importantly, you will feel the shift in your own mind. I'm healing the inner critic. I'm quieting the self-doubt. I'm removing the residue of years spent wondering if you heard me right. You did. And now, I'm confirming it not with vague signs, but with undeniable evidence. I'm making your faith louder than fear. I'm making my truth louder than tradition. And I am surrounding you with the sound of fulfillment so strong, the old lies will not survive the new atmosphere. You are not crazy for believing. You were called to believe. You were born for faith. And this moment, this beautiful unveiling will become a testimony not just of what happened, but of what you refused to stop expecting even when everything told you to give up. You didn't give up. You didn't back down. You stayed. You prayed. You kept your heart open even when it was hurting. And for that, I honor you not just with words but with results. The lies have lost their grip. The shame has lost its ground. The sound of victory is overtaking the noise of past doubt. I am rewriting your atmosphere with truth. You will no longer flinch when you remember what was said. You will smile instead, not in pride, but in peace. Because what they said would never happen is now happening, and it's only just beginning. You've lived through chapters that demanded everything from you, times where you woke up already tired, carried battles no one saw, and endured trials that pressed your spirit down like a weight too heavy to name. You became familiar with pushing through, with wiping your tears before others noticed, with staying strong for everyone else while barely holding yourself together. Survival became your rhythm, not because you lacked faith, but because your circumstances demanded endurance. I saw the nights where your only prayer was to make it to the next morning. I heard the sighs you released when no one was around, the ones that weren't loud but were heavy. And still, you moved forward, one small step at a time. But now, I'm telling you something that may sound foreign to your soul. The season of surviving is closing. You will not have to fight for every breath, every provision, every ounce of peace. This chapter will be marked not by hardship, but by celebration. It's not a fleeting moment of relief, it's a sustained season of rejoicing. The tears of sorrow are being replaced with tears of joy. The heaviness you wore like armor is being exchanged for garments of praise. You are not entering a place where you'll just barely make it. You're stepping into overflow. You will celebrate not only what I've done, but who you've become in the process. You've been forged through the fire, not burned by it. You've been molded by pressure, not crushed under it. And now, as the winds shift and the doors open, I'm not asking you to brace for more storms. I'm inviting you to breathe deeply, to dance freely, to laugh without suspicion. This joy won't have conditions. This peace won't come with warnings. You won't have to look over your shoulder waiting for something to go wrong. Because what I'm releasing now is covered in my goodness. It's saturated with my timing. You're not re-entering a war zone, you're walking into a table already set for you. You won't need to fight for a seat. You won't have to rehearse your worth. This chapter is not a test. It's a dose. It's a moment where everything you carried through the wilderness begins to make sense. You will find yourself smiling at memories that once hurt, because you'll realize how far I've brought you. The scars won't sting, they'll shine. The delays will frustrate, they'll testify. And the pain won't haunt, it will serve as proof that what was once broken has been beautifully rebuilt. People will look at you and assume it came easily. They won't see the hours you spent pressing forward in private. What you'll know, and that knowing will make the celebration deeper. This isn't shallow joy, it's rooted in redemption. Every time you doubted but still obeyed, every time you kept walking when quitting felt easier, every time you encouraged someone else while your own heart ached, it's all coming back to you now in the form of reward. And not a reward that you have to hustle for, but one that rests in your lap like sunlight through a window you didn't open. I'm removing the fear that joy is temporary. I'm healing the reflex that expects something to go wrong when life gets good. This is your permission to rejoice fully, to rest deeply, to live loudly without shame. You won't have to shrink anymore. You won't have to apologize for the blessing. It's not arrogance, it's abundance. It's not pride, it's promise fulfilled. So lift your head. Exhale the past. Let your hands rise, not in defense, but in gratitude. Because this chapter isn't about enduring, it's about enjoying. What I've written now will feel different from anything before. And you won't be alone in it. I'll be celebrating with you because I know how much it costs to get here. And you've made it. Not just to survive, but to finally live. You've spent years reaching, searching, knocking, waiting, hoping to catch up to something that always seemed just out of reach. You carried vision in your heart but watched time slip by while nothing around you seemed to reflect what you believed was possible. You questioned if you were doing something wrong, if you missed a turn, if the dreams planted deep inside were meant only to tease your spirit but never touch your reality. You ran in pursuit of answers, affirmation, opportunities, thinking they were somewhere distant, hidden in the approval of others or behind doors that only effort could unlock. But I was never asking you to chase, I was asking you to trust. What is yours doesn't need to be hunted down. What I assign to your life carries your name and my seal, and I have not forgotten where to deliver it. In fact, while you've been exhausting yourself looking forward, I've been positioning what's meant for you to find you. You don't need to strive to prove you're worthy of it. You don't need to broadcast your readiness or hustle for recognition. I've already seen you. I've already prepared the moment where the pursuit ends and the fulfillment begins. You're stepping into that moment now, not by chasing but by standing still long enough to receive. This is where alignment takes over. This is where divine timing shows you what grace truly feels like. I have called what belongs to you into motion. It's not wandering or delayed, it's on its way, guided by my perfect hand and set to collide with your obedience. It will find you in peace, not panic. It will meet you where you rest in who I am, not where you run to prove who you are. You don't have to force open anything anymore. What is assigned doesn't arrive through desperation, it arrives through surrender. You will feel the shift when it comes, not because it overwhelms you, but because it fits. Like a puzzle piece you've held onto for years, unsure where it belonged, until now. This is not about chasing something that was never yours. It's about receiving what I've always intended for you but kept hidden until you were ready. Your readiness didn't come through achievement, it came through surrender, through consistency, through unseen faithfulness. And now, what you thought had passed you by is catching up quickly. Expect sudden alignment. Expect effortless connections. Expect favor that finds you without your name being on a list or your face being recognized. I am speaking your name into places your feet have never been. I am orchestrating meetings, moments, and miracles that were never dependent on your visibility, they were dependent on my voice. You will watch as doors swing open without explanation. You'll see hearts respond to you before you speak. You'll witness how much time I was redeeming in silence. This is not the result of your chasing, it's the reward of your choosing. You chose me when the world said run harder. You chose peace when anxiety said perform. You chose trust when fear said time was running out. And because of that, you will now watch my goodness chase you. You will wake up and find that the answer has arrived while you rested. You will walk forward and realize that provision met you before the need could form words. You are not behind. You are exactly where I planned. And what once required constant effort will now come with ease, not because it's less valuable, but because you've learned who the source truly is. This is what it looks like when the promised finds the prepared. It's not loud. It's not frantic. It's divine. So stop chasing. Start receiving. What I've assigned to your life already knows its way to you. There were promises you tucked away in the back rooms of your heart, not because you stopped believing, but because it hurt too much to keep them in plain sight. You convinced yourself to stop expecting so that you wouldn't feel the sting of disappointment every time the door stayed closed or the answer didn't come. You called it surrender, but deep down it was survival, a quiet attempt to protect your hope from the wear and tear of unanswered prayers. You told yourself, maybe not now, maybe not for me. And yet, all the while, I was still working. You didn't realize it, but time wasn't your enemy, it was my tool. I wasn't ignoring your prayers. I was layering your life with the kind of depth that can carry what's coming. I didn't deny you, I prepared you. I didn't forget you, I favored you by not releasing things too soon. If I had given you everything you asked for when you asked, it would have overwhelmed you, distracted you, or drawn you into places you weren't yet ready to stand. So instead, I moved silently, stacking pieces behind the curtain, building momentum in secret. And now, that quiet construction is reaching its crescendo. What once felt set will suddenly shift. What once seemed distant will now rush and close. You will experience the divine acceleration of long-awaited answers arriving in a wave, not trickling slowly, but pouring like rain after a long drought. It will seem like everything is happening at once, because I have compressed seasons for your sake. The delays you feared were setbacks were actually my design to bring synchronized blessings. I have aligned time and heaven on your behalf. What didn't make sense before will soon become a symphony of connected moments. Opportunities will come one after another. Confirmations will echo back to back. Restored relationships, unexpected doors, favor in places you never thought would welcome you, all of it, appearing not as random blessings, but as a pattern of my perfect orchestration. You'll look around and wonder, why now? Why so much? And I will remind you, this is not sudden, it's scheduled. This is not luck, it's launch. I didn't forget. I waited for the fullness of time, and now, it's here. You've walked through barren seasons so you would recognize the rain when it came. You've endured slow, quiet chapters so you would appreciate the sound of overflow. This arrival won't feel like chaos, it will feel like completion. You will not be anxious trying to manage it all. I've stretched your capacity in the waiting. You are stronger than you know. You are more focused, more grounded, more prepared. And that's why I'm releasing it all now. Because what's culling won't crush you, it will crown you. You are not being flooded to be overwhelmed. You're being filled so you can overflow into others. The blessings are not just for you, they are flowing through you. I'm trusting you with more, not to test you, but to fulfill what I've always seen in you. You've proven faithful with little. Now I'm giving you much. And you'll see how it all fits: the moments you questioned, the chapters you wanted to skip, the prayers you thought went unheard. They were all part of the alignment. You've entered a season where the supernatural pace of my favor will exceed every natural expectation. It will be more than enough. It will be faster than you thought. It will be fuller than you imagined. And it will arrive not because you chased it, but because you trusted me through every delay. Get ready. What once trickled is about to pour. What once crawled is about to soar. And you who waited, wept, and worshipped are about to receive more than you even knew how to ask for. All at once. The trials that once seemed meaningless, the tears that felt wasted, the seasons that left you aching with no explanation, none of them were in vain. Every moment of pain has shaped something eternal within you. It wasn't just hardship. It was holy formation. While the world saw brokenness, I saw preparation. Every battle you survived became a blueprint for what I'm now building in your life. Every heartbreak, every loss, every long night of wondering if things would ever change, they all carved depth into your soul that now serves as the foundation for this new place I'm leading you into. You see, pain does not disqualify you, it qualifies you. It gave you vision beyond comfort. It created compassion in you that no teaching could have taught. It awakened discernment, sharpened your prayers, deepened your dependence, and broke off the illusion that strength could come from anything but me. And now, You are ready not just outwardly, but within. You're not walking forward with the same heart that entered the wilderness. You're stepping into this next season with wisdom drawn from the depths, with endurance earned through fire, with humility anchored in my presence. There are doors opening now that could not have opened before, not because you lacked skill, but because you hadn't yet carried the weight of revelation that only pain produces. But now, what once wounded you has become your weapon. The very areas where you felt weakest are now glowing with strength, refined in the silence. You've developed resilience, not the kind that hardens you, but the kind that softens others because you've been there. And it's that heart, that depth, that experience that's what this new chapter is built for. I'm not leading you into easy places, I'm leading you into meaningful ones. Into arenas where your story carries authority, where your testimony becomes healing for others, where your scars become proof that grace is stronger than suffering. You won't walk in timidly. You won't enter wondering if you belong. The pain already proved your capacity. The struggle already stretched your soul into shape. There is a place prepared now, not just for what you've learned, but for who you've become. What once crushed you has now crowned you with insight that books can't teach and shortcuts can't deliver. You carry revelation, not because you memorized something, but because you lived through it. And in this place I'm bringing you into, that revelation will unlock doors, transform hearts, and release blessings you never thought would carry your name. You are not an imposter, you are anointed. You are not fragile, you are fortified. This next environment isn't looking for perfection, it's looking for authenticity, and you carry that in abundance because of what you've walked through. Even the parts of your past you tried to hide will now be used as access points for others to find healing. Your voice carries weight because it has echoed through valleys and still chosen to sing. Your steps carry glory because they walked through fire and did not give up. You are not who you were before the pain, and that's the greatest gift. You're walking differently now. You carry peace where there was once pain. You move with grace instead of grasping. And that posture, rooted, rested, restored, is exactly what this new place needs. You're not coming in empty. You're arriving full of lessons, full of gratitude, full of grace. So do not fear what's next. Do not doubt your readiness. The preparation happened when no one saw. The equipping came through tears and perseverance. And now, the door is opening to a place that matches the weight of your transformation. You are not behind, you are right on time. Everything your pain tried to steal is being restored in a higher form. You are not stepping into another battle. You're stepping into fulfillment that was shaped in fire and carried by faith. And the pain that once tried to bury you, it only built the path for where you are going next. This is not a cycle repeating itself. This is not you retracing old steps or being dragged backward into former seasons. Though it may feel familiar, what I am doing now is not a rerun, it's a divine placement, not a return. You are not going back, you are going forward into the position I designed long before the struggle began. The terrain may remind you of a time when you were still finding your footing, but don't let the similarities confuse the direction. This time, you're not arriving as the same version of yourself who once felt small, unsure, or overlooked. This time, you're not trying to prove you belong, you are being established because you were born to belong. You are walking into a place that reflects what I've refined in you. You are not being recycled, you are being revealed. Every detour, every delay, every downturn shaped you for this moment, not to take you back, but to push you into the assignment you were always meant to carry. What you thought you lost in the waiting have been multiplied in the preparing. I've not only restored what was stripped, I've upgraded it. You no longer need to make room where you were once tolerated. Now I'm placing you where you're celebrated, not by crowds, but by my confirmation. You're not starting over, you're being lifted into purpose with a clarity that only comes from experience. This positioning isn't about visibility, it's about alignment. The place I'm leading you into carries peace, not pressure. It welcomes who you truly are, not who you tried to be to survive past seasons. You don't have to shrink to fit anymore. You won't need to compromise your essence to remain. I'm positioning you in an atmosphere that honors your growth, respects your process, and makes space for your future. No more forcing doors that were never assigned to you. No more rehearsing old battles just to feel worthy. What I'm preparing for you is tailored, not recycled, not borrowed, not manufactured. It's authentic. It's designed. It's yours. And the positioning won't feel forced, it will feel natural, like you were made for it. Because you were. You've been through the fire, and now I'm sitting you at the table. Not as a guest, but as someone who carries legacy. Not because of status, but because of substance. This isn't about going back to finish what you started, it's about stepping into what I've finished in you. You won't have to fight for footing this time. You won't be met with resistance trying to prove your value. I've already cleared the way. You'll know you're in the right place because it will draw out the best in you, not drain what you barely have left. The people there will recognize what I've placed within you, not because you shouted it, but because they are meant to walk with you. Dispositioning isn't promotion in the world's eyes, it's alignment in mine. It's not about fame, it's about function. And you are about to function in fullness. You'll move with clarity where you once hesitated. You'll speak with boldness where you once second-guessed. This is the moment when you begin to see why the journey took the turns it did. I was not punishing you, I was anchoring you. I was preserving your foundation so that when I elevated you, it would last. You are not returning to try again, you're stepping into what was always waiting for you. And as you take your place, you will feel me right beside you, not cheering from a distance, but guiding your every step, confirming every move, and reminding you with every breath, you belong here, because I sent you here. You may not realize it now, but the very moments when you were closest to quitting were also the moments when your breakthrough was closest to being born. You stood at the edge of surrender, not because you lacked faith, but because the weight had worn down your strength. You reached points where your prayers felt hollow, your vision felt dim, and your spirit felt drained. And still, you stayed. Maybe your steps slowed. Maybe your voice trembled. But you didn't turn back. You didn't walk away from what I placed inside you, even when it would have been easier to. The tenacity, that fragile but unbroken yes, was never wasted. I saw each moment when you whispered, "I can't do this anymore," and I answered not by scolding your weakness, but by holding you even tighter. Because I knew what you didn't, that the release was being formed just beneath the surface of your struggle. The very resistance you faced was proof of how close you were to the shift. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. And those darkest hours were not signs of abandonment, they were indicators that your next season was so close, it was already starting to tremble in the unseen. I watched you fight with little left in your hands. I watched you love others while wondering if I still remembered your name. I watched you give away encouragement while your own heart ran on empty. And in every one of those moments, I was building a release so tailored to your endurance that when it arrived, it wouldn't just restore you, it would reward every unseen decision to keep going. What you thought were pointless struggles were pressure points unlocking what had been waiting behind divine timing. I let the process press you so that your promise would pour without cracks. You always walked away. And still, you chose me. That choice became the turning point. Not because you were perfect, but because you were positioned in humility, in surrender, in raw dependency on me. And now, the weight that felt endless is becoming the moment that changes everything. Not because something suddenly changed in the world, but because the time has finally caught up to what I've already established in the Spirit. You're stepping into the release not by force, but by divine invitation. And that release is not just breakthrough, it's evidence. Evidence that your persistence wasn't pointless. Evidence that I heard every weary cry. Evidence that your steps, no matter how shaky, were never off course. I was walking beside you even when you thought you were crawling alone. And now, what's arriving will feel like a tide washing away the residue of exhaustion. You won't just recover, you'll rise. You won't just breathe, you'll overflow. Because the release isn't partial, it's full. It doesn't arrive with conditions, it comes with confirmation. You were never wasting time in the waiting. You were building momentum. You were gathering strength for what required a deeper well of resilience than others could see. And now, because you did not give up, even when everything told you to, I am honoring that faithfulness with fulfillment. What's opening for you is not small. It's not casual. It's not quiet. It's a direct answer to every silent sacrifice. And when you look back, you will remember just the pain, you'll see the power. You'll realize that every step you took when you wanted to stop became the very ground that this promise is now being built upon. So don't regret the struggle. Don't resent the waiting. It brought you here. And here, at this threshold of release, I will show you that nothing you endured was wasted. Not even the tears that dried before they hit the floor. Every almost gave up became almost there. And now you've arrived. This time, peace won't come as something you try to hold on to, it will come as something that holds on to you. Not the fleeting kind that appears only when life feels calm, but the deep, anchoring stillness that settles in your soul even while the world around you continues to move. I am not offering you temporary relief, I am releasing a permanent shift. You have known what it's like to live with tension beneath your smile, to carry silent unrest while functioning for everyone else, to show up while your heart felt divided between trust and fear. But now I am shifting something within you that will no longer be shaken by circumstances. You're stepping into a rest that doesn't need a reason. A quiet confidence that doesn't demand perfect timing or flawless outcomes. This is the reward for your endurance, not just external change, but internal calm. You've tried to explain away your exhaustion before, hoping others would understand the pressure you've carried, the weight of always holding everything together. But what I'm doing now will need no defense. The evidence of peace will be so present, it will speak without words. You will find yourself waking up lighter, not because your responsibilities vanished, but because your spirit is no longer living in survival mode. You'll feel clarity where there once was confusion, softness where there once was anxiety, rhythm where there once was chaos. And it won't be because you figured out a perfect strategy, it will be because I've touched the foundation of your being. I'm reordering your inner life. I'm healing the parts of you that lived in constant preparation for disappointment. I'm quieting the inner dialogue that braced for loss before blessings had a chance to land. You won't need to look over your shoulder, wondering when the good will end. This peace will teach you that I'm not giving you temporary breaks, I'm giving you a new baseline. You will breathe without bracing. You will trust without trembling. And that will confuse those who once knew your struggle. They'll ask how you're so steady. They'll notice the change before you mention it. And that's because this peace isn't a feeling, it's a transformation. I'm removing the fear of what's next. I'm cutting off the cycles of second-guessing, overthinking, and self-blame. I'm breaking the pattern that made you question everything good that came your way. Because this time, you won't sabotage what I'm sending. This time, you'll rest in it. And that rest will unlock more than you imagined. Your creativity will return. Your laughter will rise without effort. Your relationships will deepen, not because you're working harder, but because you're no longer surviving. You're thriving. You'll no longer search for security outside of yourself, because you will feel me so deeply within you that even silence will sound like comfort. This is the peace that passes understanding. It's not explained, it's encountered. It doesn't need perfect surroundings, it creates its own atmosphere. And you're about to carry it. Wherever you go, peace will go with you. It will guard your thoughts. It will govern your responses. It will mark your presence with something holy. And even when challenges arise, you won't lose your grip, because you will know this peace was never rooted in what could change, it was anchored in me, who never does. I am planting this stillness in you like a river that never dries. And the more you draw from it, the more it will multiply. You won't have to defend your joy. You won't have to explain your ease. It will become who you are, not a reaction to good days, but the result of walking with me closely. So prepare to live lighter. Prepare to feel free in ways you've never known. I'm not just calming your life, I'm calming your soul. And that kind of peace, it won't need words. It will simply be undeniable. You thought you were waiting for something to happen. You believed the delay was about timing, about conditions falling into place, about things outside of you lining up. But in truth, while you waited, I was working within you. The process wasn't about withholding what you desired, it was about shaping who you would be when it arrived. I wasn't preparing the blessing for you alone, I was preparing you for the blessing. Because what I'm giving you now carries weight, not just favor. It doesn't only change your life, it touches others through you. And for that I needed your heart to be steady, your character to be deep, and your faith to be rooted. I needed you to grow not in performance, but in identity. Not in influence, but in intimacy with me. You see, if I had answered your request when you first made it, it would have satisfied your need but crushed your capacity. You would have received the gift but not known how to carry the responsibility it brings. And I love you too much to place you in something you're not ready to sustain. That's why the waiting wasn't wasted. Every day you remained faithful in silence. Every time you worshipped when it hurt. Every moment you stood firm when quitting seemed easier. Those were the moments you became the one I always envisioned. And now, you're not just walking into fulfillment, you're stepping into it with a maturity to steward it. This answer is not just for comfort, it's for calling. It's not here just to bless you, it's here to flow through you. You're not entering this next season as someone hoping to be enough, you're entering as someone who knows who you are in me. You've been broken and rebuilt. You've been stripped and reshaped. And through it all, your roots have grown deep, so that what I'm placing in your hands now won't be shaken by wind or applause. You learned to walk with me when no one was watching, and that's why I can trust you with this. This answer may look like a breakthrough, but it's also a mantle. A divine assignment that rests on your life not because of what you did, but because of who you let me turn you into. And that transformation, it matters more than the answer ever did. Because answers can arrive and disappear, but identity rooted in me will remain through every season. That's what you've gained. That's what the enemy couldn't steal. You didn't just wait for something, you became someone. Someone who doesn't need external proof to believe I'm working. Someone who doesn't panic when plans shift. Someone who listens closely, obeys quickly, and walks humbly, not out of fear, but out of friendship with me. And now, as I release the very thing you've longed for, it won't feel like something you caught up to, it will feel like something that was always yours. It just had to wait for you to become the one who could carry it with wisdom, grace, and spiritual authority. So receive it, not with trembling but with peace. Know that you are not stepping into something by chance. You are walking into what I have watched you grow into through every high and low. The answer was never the destination, it was the byproduct of transformation. And now that you've become the person who doesn't just desire the promise but understands the purpose behind it, you will carry it well. You will protect it. You will multiply it. And above all, you will reflect me through it. This was never about just getting what you asked for. It was always about becoming the one who could carry it with honor, joy, and vision. And now you are. Amen.